from the time a phone call comes in for some service work. It's a new job box where we can pick a client, or we can add a client on the fly. That takes us to the job info screen. And first off, if we have multiple sites, we have a main billing address for the home office, but we could have different sites. Sometimes the client will give you an actual PO number so that you can reference when you invoice them, so we make sure you get paid. We have site notes. Over here on the right side is the actual work management piece of it. So this is telling us when we send this and submit it to work management, a couple things here. One is the type of work. So if this was an emergency service, maybe there's a power outage. By picking emergency service, it also picks a duration. It picks up today's date and time, but we could move the time and date out, so when we submit it to work management, they have an idea when the client wants us to come out. We have different statuses, high, normal, and low. We can override that duration. We can set up capabilities, so if you had to have a certified welder or something like that, we could do that and match that up with the client's capabilities. Create that work order. We're then going to submit the work order to the field service management solution. Look at the dispatching piece. We go over here to the field service management, geo manager, and the work management dispatch board. Now, the board here is showing us all the different technicians we have in the field and locations and all that stuff. But we're just going to grab that technician. We'll put it over here under my name here so we can get this thing out the door. So you'll see here that it's been assigned, and that will come over to the field tech, or we can just kind of speed this up. I'm going to dispatch it right here. This is now, I've just brought in, is the screen that you would have on your iPhone or Android. You'll see this is what the technician will see. If they go to My Task here, you'll see here that we've got PG17, which is the one we're working on now. You can actually come over here and zoom in on that location, so you can really get down to the map level here where that particular item is. It's been dispatched, and if we look at the screen here now, the mobile worker can open up that particular task, and you see down here they can accept it or reject it. They can then monitor the time it takes to travel, so they can hit traveling. So we're traveling on the site now, and they're driving down the road. They can quit the journey, or they can immediately say, well, we're on the site and now we're ready to start doing the work. So they go in and do the work. I'm going to jump start this a little bit. I'm going to hit the close button here, and I'm going to send this time back just a little bit so we can get this thing closed out. We can add notes in the field. So this might be, work order completed. Close the task. So we'll remove this now from the board here, and we'll update it. So you see it pulls it off the board here once it's completed. Now we'll go back to the T&M billing program. We change it to an invoice. We can add additional notes. Now the next tab at the bottom is the takeoff screen. So this is where we're going to actually enter the material that was used on the job site. And we can pick up the half-inch conduit. Say we put in 20 feet of conduit. We can pick up the connectors and couplings and all that. Or a lot of our clients will use assemblies. So that is a group of items, right? 20 amp duplex receptacle with some 3/4 inch conduit. Depending on how many of those we installed, there's a count of 1. We have an average footage of conduit. We can override that if we wish. Click on that, and that's going to give us all the parts and pieces when we go to extension. So in extension, you'll see we've got a trade price coming in from trade service. You notice we have the discount for this client is ghosted, so we can set material pricing up on a client-by-client basis. We can charge the client trade price. We can charge him our cost plus markup. There's also trade service now does the AMT, average market price, AMP, that they can use, becoming much more dominant. We can do a separate markup on top of any of these items, so we could add 10% if we wish. Usually that'll be built in if you have a markup on it, but we can do it on the fly. We can actually add parts that we just grabbed off from the supply house. So if we click on Add Item, we might have a special parts. You might have a PO number that you purchased from a parts supply house, just a lump sum group, maybe it was $35 worth of parts, and you want to mark that up 25%. We go to the labor side and we actually plug in the hours that we want to bill the client. We can have different crew mixes and so forth. We're showing a journeyman here. We have a billable rate that we bill the client is $85 an hour. We have our cost of $41.09. So the difference is going to be our profitability. So we're tracking profitability on the invoice. We also know that from our material. We go over to general expenses, which could be maybe we charge for the van. Some people do that where they have inventory in the van and they charge folks for that inventory in the van. We might have zone charges for fuel charges. We see that as well. Under the subcontractors tab, possibly you brought in a drywaller behind your work and you're paying for the drywaller. You could put in a cost for that. When we get to the totals page, this brings over all the material, all the labor, and usually your profit and markup is built into those two items. Now, at this point, we're ready to look at the invoice. So if we click up here, we've got the invoice, and there's different styles of invoices you could have. You see that the work description has that built into it, and this will just grow as you add more notes. We're showing every part and piece. We show the quantities, the net, and the material price. If you don't want to show net, you can get rid of that and just show the quantity and total, and then get rid of the unit prices so you have flexibility there. We've got our journeyman, 4 hours, $85. We've got the service van. We've got the drywall here. We've got our sales tax, and then we have the total invoice, $683. Email this right out to the, if we have the email address, we'll automatically insert it into the clients here. This one didn't have their email address, it didn't insert it. We'd have to put it here. The PDF of the invoice is right there, and you can adjust. You see it brought in kind of a standard email that you might have.